Do you feel stuck while reading? Do you relate to this image? Well, you come to the right place, because we're going to talk about how to not get stuck while reading. My name is Mads. I'm a special education teacher and an artist with dyslexia and dyscalculia, and I'm here to take you on a journey to talk about my own personal experiences, but also my professional advice. So many individuals, both with and without a diagnosis, may find it challenging to sit still and read. And especially if you have dyslexia or DLD maybe, or ADHD, the thought of sitting there and being forced to having to read and get stuck in that, and all this trauma is carried or projected or portrayed, a difficult word, onto the page, making them potentially have a difficulty with reading or without outside of a school environment, and the enjoyment of reading can be quite turbulent. I was there myself. I know that many individuals, especially with dyslexia, struggle with this, and just the thought of sitting still for many students are hell. So what can we do to compensate or deal with this? Well, this is what I did. When I was 11, I was diagnosed with dyslexia, and I thought, hey, how can I find my own way of learning? How can I do my life easier for me? So I started to look at all these challenges that I had. And one of those things was that I felt stuck while I was reading. Because when you have dyslexia, it may be that when you read a paragraph, you read a page, you read a sentence again and again and again, and you become stuck, feel like you get nowhere, you may not be able to pronounce or even understand all the words, and there is a lot of frustration building up, especially if this is your when you think about reading, this is what you think about. You're stuck physically, mentally, on all levels. So I thought, okay, what if I take my book, find a long, flat path, and walk while reading? It sounds absolutely ridiculous, but hear me out. The thing is, when you are walking and reading, obviously you'd be flat, obviously not, you're not running, you're walking slowly, making sure that there's nothing in your path. What happens? Well, you can look behind yourself and see, I'm not where I started. Why is that important? Because you're tricking your brain to see that, hey, I have moved in time and space. This is interesting. I'm not where I started anymore. So you're tricking your brain to think that you are making progress. Illusion of progress. Even though you may feel stuck, you look behind yourself and say, hey, I've moved. Interesting. And if you do this enough times, even though you were to read or write, or read in this case, read something wrong, you can see, hey, okay, keep going. I have moved in space. It's fine. And then from these thoughts, you can keep going, even though you may read wrong, even though you may feel stuck on the page. You're training your brain to feel unstuck. And I'm emphasis on training, because just doing this once isn't enough. You need to try and practice this, so you have this mindset whenever you're reading, like, hey, yeah, I'm good, I can move, it's fine. Then I ask myself, can I do this in other situations? Because this really worked for me. It looked stupid, but it worked. Can I do this in other ways of moving? And the answer is yes. And we're not talking about running, of course, we're talking about transportation. So for example, a car. I thought, okay, I can sit in a car, I can look outside the window, and I can keep reading. I am not where I started. The same mindset applies. You are moving in time and space, and you're not stuck. Even though you are seated, you can still see that you are moving, which you then take a next step from just walking with your own feet, which is the most ideal one, I would say. But sometimes we have to be adaptable. Of course, this technique with a car doesn't work if you get car sick. So if you get car sick, don't do this. But for those of you who doesn't, try. And if you don't, even if you don't know if you get car sick, try. It may work. So I thought, okay, can I do this in different places? What about flying? I love flying. I feel very relaxed, and I feel like I can be so productive while flying because I don't need to go anywhere. I'm there for the period of time, for the hours that I'm flying, and I don't need to worry about time, which is a topic we will talk about in our upcoming video. But again, I can look outside the window. I'm not where I started. I can keep on reading. The same applies on a train. You're not where you started. You can keep going. A boat, maybe not while you are rowing the boat, but if you're on a big boat, that would definitely work. That's transportation for quite a lot of people in the world, especially in Norway, where I'm from. On a horse, maybe not ideal. You should see where you're going. On a roller coaster, maybe not ideal. You shouldn't try this on every type of transportation, but within reason. So make sure that you are safe and taking care of yourself and other people. But the thought applies. The thought of like, how and what environment can I use to make myself feel ready? Because that's the case. That's what I'm trying to put into your head. What is the environment? How is the environment? Do you need to move? Well, then you need to start moving. Because school environment might be quite challenging. It might be a lot of noise. You might be quite sensitive even, especially if you have ADHD, many dyslexias as well. You need to communicate. Hey, teacher, I need to be in a room where I can actually move around and or just have a quiet place. Maybe you need to be, as I said, moving around, or you need to be somewhere else in the classroom. Maybe there's some bean bags in the corner where you can sit. But you need to communicate this with your teacher. You need to figure out what works for you. But before you communicate that to your teacher, you need to have a thought, or you need to think about what is the most ideal thing for me, right? To be in this state where you can feel at peace while reading. And don't bring the school environment with you into your own room, into your own house. Move around. Lay on your stomach if you want. Move your legs. Laying on your bed. Move around. Don't apply the same rules with the same strictness. I know that many parents want to keep the rigid blah blah blah. No, you don't need to. You need to figure out what works for you, so you can get this joy of reading. And the joy of reading can be a lot of different things. But before we get to the joy of reading, we need to assess the environment we are in so we can actually start enjoying it, which will be a different video in the future. How can we enjoy reading? But for now, what is in your environment? What can you do to make it easier for you? Is what I want you to think about. If that's nature, fantastic. Go out and sit in nature. Something that makes you feel safe. Something that makes you feel free, and emphasis on free because that's the whole point. We are not sitting at a desk, we are moving around. We want you ideally to move your body as much as possible and read. Okay, so go out there, take your books with you, and let's make this movement of walking with our books and try it out. That's the whole point here. Different perspective. You need to do this a few times before you be like, oh, this doesn't work for me. Many of you are quite quick. We're like, oh, this doesn't work for me. Something else, blah, blah, blah. Take time. Give yourself the time to try out these things. But maybe you're one of those people who don't read with your eyes, but you read with your ears instead. If that's you, well, you're in luck, because the next episode we're going to talk about exactly that, reading with your ears. And if you like this video, I hope you give it a like, follow, subscribe. There will be a lot more videos about finding good learning techniques, finding and understanding how do you think, what do you need to do differently, because our system doesn't really tell us. So you need to figure out how do you need to learn, how do you learn, what and how can you modify your environment for the optimal experience for yourself. We are basically hacking our own brain so we can achieve the things that we want to achieve. So if you like that, follow, subscribe, share with someone you think can benefit from this video. And with that, Mads out.